Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdy Multiverse and yet another breakdown. Today we will be breaking down and giving our initial thoughts on the 4th episode of the Negan and Maggie spin-off series, The Walking Dead: Dead City. The 4th episode being titled, Everybody Wins a Prize. This episode starts off with an awesome Negan flashback scene as we go back to the times where he led the Saviors. However, this is even before Rick and the group encountered them, as we see Negan feasting at the table where he usually held his meetings with the main Savior leaders or captains, such as Regina, Gavin, and more. He's drawing down some plans for the sanctuary, which we actually do see play out in the main series, as here he is planning out having the walkers chained up right outside their gates, which is actually where his right-hand man, Simon, ended up going after his disobedience. And speaking of Simon, a familiar voice walks in on Negan, and it is in fact Simon himself. He tells Negan that they have a problem and they go to where the Croat is. Now obviously this is before he lost his ear and was still tolerated by Negan. But this is where it all went wrong, as we do see the girl he tortured to get answers from the kingdom. And this is a story that Negan told to Maggie just a few episodes ago. Simon makes sure to remind the Croat that doing anything to kids is a line that they do not cross. And this has been a common theme amongst the Saviors, specifically with Negan, as we saw with all of his moments with Carl and the events that followed him escaping the jail in Alexandria. We also hear and learn that it was actually the Croat who discovered the hidden arms cache at the hilltop. The Croat tries to assure Negan that this was needed and refers to him as Baraz, which means bro or brother in Croatian, and also correlates with the name of his new group in the present day, the Baratzi. We can see just how upset Negan is here, and this was definitely where he decided that it was time to get rid of the Croat. Then cutting to present day Negan, Maggie, and the rest of the tribespeople group as they all prepare to head to the arena, get Hershel back, and take the Croat out. Except they're missing Luther, and have no idea where he is. Obviously from the previous episode, we know that he is dead by Negan's own hands. Negan mentions that Luther likely dipped out on them, especially due to the fact that he wasn't very keen on this plan. So they decide to just continue getting ready to head out without him. Now I wonder what will happen when or if they actually discover that Negan killed their friend. Maggie and Negan talk for a bit before heading out themselves, where we see Negan stuff Luther's old beeswax in his bag, which is good for cuts as his hand is injured. Negan mentions how as they grow closer to getting to the Croat, the more unready he is to experience it, and how he does not want to hear the echoes of a song he is so sick of hearing about, referring to his time as the big bad. Maggie mentions some old stories about when Hershel was a little kid and what she did to a neighbor and such, just some more small talk, but it's also referencing how she is hiding the fact that she found Ginny's dinosaur from Negan and she likely burnt it, which is also where Negan asks her if she's seen his matches, where she says no, but we all know that she used them to burn Ginny's dinosaur. Before heading down into the subway tunnels, Maggie notices the stuff coming from the sewers, which is methane, a dangerous thing to breathe in and what the Croat uses for energy. They enter the subway tunnels and Ginny is following them from behind. Heading through the subway tunnels and passing over some immobile walkers, they arrive into the arena just like that. A little too easy to sneak in, but that's all for a reason. They start searching a few different rooms which are likely to be old cells and torturing chambers, which is where Maggie gets a bit panicky and quickly walks through the halls and makes sure to check every single room for Hershel, where she and Negan walk into a room where there is a body inside that resembles that of Hershel, and Maggie immediately stops in fear and starts to break. Negan walks forward and the walker awakes, and luckily it is not Hershel, and he makes sure to reassure Maggie that it is not her child, and then he puts the walker down. Then cutting to them finalizing their plans to head towards the cage area of the arena as Negan distracts and draws out the Croat, as Maggie steals a car so she can go and get Hershel wherever he is, and the rest get their chance to take out the Croat, so everybody wins a prize, as Amaya says. The title of the episode, of course. Maggie and Negan stay behind and talk a bit before they execute their parts of the plan, as Maggie looks in her pocket at Negan's matches and says that she needs to tell him something, like she is about to own up about Ginny and the dinosaur. But then she notices Luther's beeswax in Negan's bag and realizes what actually happened to Luther, and she gets upset. Now, I think this is a bit weird because she is hiding something major from Negan as well, so why get upset at something that Negan is hiding, especially knowing that his was actually necessary for his own survival, while Maggie's was just out of spite and secrecy. Again, he reminds her that she should stop acting like she hasn't ever done anything that she needed to explain herself. Cutting to the Croat and a kid who are still in the building in a sort of control room. The kid seems very skittish and afraid of the Croat, and of course, who wouldn't be? He is crazy and has clearly captured and hurt a lot of children. The Croat tries to assure them that they should not be afraid of him, recalling the day that he welcomed them into the group, and how much of a joy it has been having them being a part of the group, and how proud he is of them, and how they should never be afraid of him no matter what. This seems very malicious and manipulative. He then hands the kid a piece of candy, which I think might actually be laced with something that ends up killing the person who eats it, as we do not see this kid ever again in the episode after this sequence. Then, out of nowhere from the dark halls of the building, the infamous Negan and Saver whistle is heard, catching the attention of the Croat as he heads into the halls, following and looking for his old brother, Negan, leaving behind the kid, who puts the disc in as it starts a countdown timer. Cutting to Maggie as she sneaks through the garage to steal a vehicle as everybody else executes their part of the plan. She finds a car, and before wiring it up to get it started, she notices the keys are already in it. Not only is this a coincidence and luck for her, but I think this is because the Croat was planning to have all of the vehicles ready for his men. Before she gets going though, Ginny walks in the garage, sees her, and clearly she does not trust her anymore, especially after seeing her getting ready to burn her dinosaur. So she runs back off, which is where Maggie is forced to leave her part of the plan behind and go after Ginny to keep her safe. Negan and the Croat, who is now searching for him, then both arrive in the garage, where the Croat also uses the savior whistle, and I love the creepy vibe that the whistle always brings. Negan notices Maggie's tool in the car, so now he knows something likely went wrong with the plan, as the countdown timer goes down more and more, and the tribespeople, now joined by Maggie and Ginny, get into the cage area of the arena, where it is completely empty of the Barazzi. As the countdown hits 0, music begins playing, and the candles lit near the arena entrances blow up and cause the entrances to explode. This entire plan was a set trap, and I wonder how the Croat figured out everything that was going on. As the Barazzi continue storming the garage and begin getting in the vehicles and driving off, they are all leaving, and all at once and in a hurry. This was all part of the plan. Negan nearly gets caught by one of the Barazzi, but he sneaks off just in time as walkers begin walking into the cage area of the arena in huge numbers, completely surrounding Maggie, Ginny, and the tribespeople group. Everyone fighting near the cage are trying their best to survive as they fight off as many walkers as they can, but they start losing numbers, and pretty quickly. Tommaso gets surrounded himself by walkers next, and it seems as if he is getting taken out next. The Croat stays behind in the garage and keeps 2 of his men behind as well, as the rest leave the building, as he knows Negan is there with them and is hiding. So they begin searching, where Negan gets time to sneak off, but not without gaining the attention of the Croat and his men. Cutting back to Maggie as she continues taking out tons of walkers before she freezes and starts getting the flashes of Hershel screaming for her help, where she nearly runs off away from the group before noticing and joining Ginny with the last few survivors inside of the cage, as the Croat starts catching up with Negan, where they see each other for the first time in years. Still continuing to fight walkers, but now inside the cage, they take the padding off of the cage and use them as shields and a way to push the walkers off of them so they can charge out of the cage and escape the horde. But when they do so, they end up losing another, and Amaya is nearly taken down herself too. But Tommaso returns perfectly fine and saves her just in time, escorting them away from the horde and into a boiler room. The Croat finally catches up with Negan, bringing their full-fledged reunion to life, where he still refers to him as his Baraz, or brother, offering a truce as he says that he's not looking for revenge for what happened. He ends up asking Negan where Lucille is, but of course she is gone and broken. One too many hits to the head, as the Croat says. He mentions that he ran into who I can assume is another former savior on the mainland, and he was informed of the war with the Kingdom, Hilltop, and Alexandria, and the ultimate defeat of the saviors. Blaming Simon for everything that happened to the Sanctuary and the saviors, and saying that he never really listened to Negan, which in a way is actually true, if you recall what he did to Jadis's group. Saying that it's okay that Negan lost the Sanctuary as now he has built a new one here. Saying that they will transform the entire island into their new sanctuary and be fueled by all of the dead. Because of course, people are a resource. The Croat says that they need to take care of business before they take care of the pleasure. And he knows exactly what Negan wants, and he has the person he is after. Except it's the Marshal, Pearlie Armstrong, and not Hershel, who Negan is actually here for, as he is still helping the Widow, which is what the saviors referred to Maggie as during the war. Except the return of Hershel will require more of a conversation, as the Croat says. Negan still doesn't trust the Croat for obvious reasons, so the Croat tries to prove to him that he's trustworthy with an act of quote-unquote brotherly love and friendship, as he throws Pearlie over the ledge nearly to his death. But the Marshal grabs onto the railing in time, and Negan helps him up, saving his life. The Croat fires a grapple sort of gun at Pearlie's leg and tries to make him fall as hard as he can, as Negan still helps him up and eventually gets him on the rail, saves him, and they both take off. Cutting to Maggie, Ginny, Tommaso, and Amaya as they barricade the room that they are in now and try to figure out a way out, as they notice that there is actually an entrance into the sewers here and it's their only choice, so they have to take it. And I think this is where things will take a big turn with more variant walkers. Negan and Pearlie get to safety and into a building away from the arena, where Negan turns his back to Pearlie just for a few seconds to make sure that they were not followed. But of course, when he turns back around, Pearlie is holding him at gunpoint and telling him that he is a wanted man and will be put to execution for his crimes. So Negan surrenders, and I would not be surprised if we start the next episode with the aftermath of this situation, and we either see Pearlie finally come to his senses, or Negan just puts him down. Cutting back to the rest of the group as Tommaso and Amaya give love and reassurance to one another, as the sewers could very well be their end. As they each head down into the darkness, Maggie barricades the entrance to the sewers and heads down herself. And this is where the episode ends off. Another absolutely incredible episode. I absolutely love the suspense and action in this one, and I really enjoyed seeing the flashback scenes and Simon's return. I would not mind getting more of those, and I think it would be kind of cool to see some savior episodes in a Tales of the Walking Dead season 2. I think that would be loads of fun. I am very hyped for the 5th episode that's coming next week, and this episode was a great entry for this season. But of course, I would like to hear about your thoughts on this episode as well, so make sure to leave them down below. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed our breakdown and review on this episode, don't forget to give it a like. And with that being said, we will see you all the next time that we go through and explore the nerdy multiverse.